So hey guys, this is Anuj, and in this video we'll be talking about resumes, what the structure of a resume should be, what all content should it have, who would be better to talk about resumes than someone who has been on both sides, that is in the candidate side as well, someone who has been actively taking interviews. So today we have with us Aanshul, who is an SDE2 at Google. A lot of you may already know him from LinkedIn. He has contributed a lot to the LinkedIn community, especially helping freshers in their resume reviews and guiding them towards the path towards top tech companies. So let's start with his introduction. So hi Aanshul.
Yeah, hello Anuj. Hello everyone. My name is Anshul Sadaria and I work in Google currently. It's my 6th month. I think 6th month is over by now. I'm going to start into my 7th month. And my position is software engineer 2 at Google. And I graduated in 2020 from Triple IT Hyderabad. So yeah, like Google is an amazing place to work at. Couldn't have asked for a better start to my career. But as we all know, like COVID has changed a lot of plans. And so unfortunately, we started from work from home, but it's going pretty nice.
So let's directly move to the question that the entire video is based on. So Anshul, can you please tell us about what an ideal resume structure should be according to you?
So according to me, a structure like the resume should be very precise, like up to the point. 2 pages should be avoided as much as you can. Even though if you check my resume, it was 2 pages, but I would strongly prefer a one-page resume because it's easier to read. And I personally like the two-column structure because it's very easy to navigate through. You don't need to read from left to right the entire sentence. So a half column read is a good time spent to read. So that is really good. And the DDCV in overleaf is what I like usually suggest when someone asks me what resume format I should prefer. So yeah, that is pretty cool. Like education, then achievements, and on the right hand side, internships or work experience, and then the major projects. So these are the top four sections which should definitely be on your resume. Rest depends on what position you are applying for and what your like experience throughout the 4 years of your undergrad journey is. So like it can increase or decrease. For example, I had publications and patent, so I can add that section to my list. If you have a strong extracurriculars, like you volunteered somewhere or you are part of developer student club group of Google, or you're part of Microsoft campus, like something those ambassador programs, so you can mention that if you want. Then if there are open source projects, then you can strongly weigh them. So these things, like depending upon what you worked in, these are all plus and minus that can obviously be done in your resume.
Great. Also, is there any limitation on the number of projects that a resume should contain? Any lower bound or an upper bound?
Yeah, so there is not a fixed golden rule for the number of like projects. For instance, if I talk about me in my internship drive, I had a big number of like list of projects that I did, which unfortunately is not very good looking. And in my then placement drive, I like minimized the number of projects to 3 or 4, I guess, which look pretty decent. And I explained those projects in very precise and like accurate manner. So I think 4 to 5 projects is a very decent number to have. But if you have less number of decent projects, then it's also fine. If you have more number of decent projects, then it's also fine. For me, there were 4 decent projects, and that's what I mentioned. Like avoid mentioning your course projects, because that is going to be the same with you and your friends. Like my batchmate is going to have the same project as I have. So mentioning that in your resume is not going to add any value. So if you did some open source contribution, your friend would not have done that, right? So mention that thing. If you have participated in a hackathon and won that or whatever, like if you achieved something in that, then mention that thing. So try to do things out of the box. Try to do unique projects. Even if they are very small, try to do the unique projects, and that will add more value. Like if you just create a CRUD operation short application with like some like create, read, update, and delete, that is also fine. Like until and unless it's unique and you did it with some purpose in your mind. So keep that in mind.
Also, can you please tell us about the topics on which these projects should be so that they look good on our resume? Should this be app development, web development, AI, ML?
Yeah, so this question is like holding the dog by its tail. So we should not do that thing. Like what you are passionate about, try to do those projects rather than what will look good on your resume. Definitely, certain things like AI and ML will look more lucrative because we don't understand it properly, and neither does your recruiter understand it properly, right? So it surely does look attractive as compared to web development, because we know what web development is. We are using it in our day-to-day lives, but AI ML is something that is not understood pretty well. So that looks more attractive, but nevertheless, like if your like role is front end specific, and if you are having AI ML projects, then that is not going to add value. So do what you like, and apply only for the positions that you are interested in. Just because Google has opened a networking engineer, and like you want to go to Google but you don't have anything and like zero knowledge about network engineering and you're applying for that, then like I don't want to say that, but like you are a fool in that scenario, right? You should not apply for that. Correct. Wait for the correct application on their portal and then only apply for it.
Now, since we are talking about projects, let's also move on to the most famous question, that whether should someone focus on project that is development or should one focus on competitive programming? So what's your view on it?
So they matter up to an extent, but having an overly vague resume with only competitive coding is also going to pull the resume back, right? And having an overly vague resume with only web development or some specific spectrum of computer science with no mention of what your data structures and algorithms knowledge is also going to underweigh you. So having a decent balance of both these things is what is expected from you.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
So, like competitive programming is not mandatory, as I keep on saying. It's something with which you refine your data structures and algorithms knowledge. You can just do decent like geeks for geeks and lit code and interview bit and still nail your interviews. Correct. So when your resume is going to be shortlisted, at that time the content in your resume is going to matter. Correct. And content is not limited to competitive programming, but when you're going to give your interviews, at that time data structures and algorithms is important. So even if you mention that or not, you should have, like, even if you mention competitive coding or not, you should have a decent grasp over the fundamentals of data structures and algorithms. And talking about the ratings that you said, so yeah, rating would matter. Like if I take two resumes in my hand, one is having like say expert, which I was at my time of application, and let's say you're Anuj, if you are an like candidate master, then as a recruiter, I am surely going to select you if all the other things are the same.
Yeah, boy.
Right. So the weights keep on changing with like how certain differentiating topics are in your resume. So don't ignore that. But nevertheless, as I said, I was an expert when I applied. So it didn't matter in my case because I had other things which could like lift the weight of my resume. Correct. So these things would matter. Like there are certain applications wherein only competitive programming is taken into consideration. I see like a few of my friends went into interviews through Google Kickstart. So they were good, like they were good as computer programmers, they were good as software engineers, but their dominance was in competitive programming. They were like international grandmaster and all this crazy stuff which I don't understand, right? So that is exceptional. Unless and until you are not exceptional, try to maintain a decent balance of everything that is on your plate. Correct. And never mention like candidate master, candidate grandmaster, and all those things. Your recruiter is not going to understand what's the relative priority on your resume. If you want to mention, you can mention the rank, like, hey, my rank is, let's say, in top 100 out of the world, or you can mention the top percentile, like I am in top 0.1 percentile of the world. That makes more sense to a recruiter. Also mention 5-star and candidate grandmaster. Like all of these have their own respect, have their own priorities, but you should not assume that your recruiter will know what a 5-star coder is. The recruiter may think that there are 10 stars in all in CodeChef and you are only 5-star. Correct. Like that is not a general scenario, but like that can happen, and you don't want to like miss the bullseye just because like you mentioned something which was not comprehensible by your recruiter. Correct. So make sure that numbers are there instead of just like categorical values.
Another doubt that a lot of freshers have is, are positional responsibilities or certificates that you add in your resume or photographs or any personal details that you add, like your address or anything, and like things like rating yourself out of 5 or out of 10 in Java, C++, HTML, blah blah. Do these hold any weightage?
So POR in that case would matter because like companies like Google, Microsoft, all those top tech giants, they don't just hire computer programmers. They hire good individuals who are good human beings and like they have good leadership qualities and all those stuff, right? So you just don't want to be a geek or nerd. You should have some, not necessarily position of responsibilities, but there should be some extracurriculars. It can be during your school time as well, not necessarily during your college. So yeah, that will definitely add some spice or some diversity to your resume. And talking about the certificates, they are a total waste if you don't have, like, if you mention that you have a certificate in machine learning, but when I look at your projects column and there is no project in machine learning, then there is a total waste. You can mention that certificate, but to corroborate to that certificate, you should have a corresponding project in your experience section or the project section. Otherwise, don't mention that certificate, please. Right. And the last, yeah, about the photograph thing. So photograph is not necessary at all. Like, we are not going for a like modeling campaign or something like that. So for freshers in specific, photograph is not mandatory at all. Never put your photographs. This is a strict thing. Never put your address on the resume. Never put your photograph on the resume. Like, talking about the personal details, name, mobile number, like your personal mobile number if you have, or father's or mother's, and then an email address. That's it. That should be the only personal details that you should reveal in your resume. That's it. So talking about that, you should never rate yourself, because one of my LinkedIn post, recent ones, they say that you never know what is the expanse of the topic that you are learning right now. Like, to me, I am learning C++ since my first year, but still now, like, every day I open my laptop in the morning, I have new thing to learn in C++ at Google. Right, not only at Google, like every individual, every programmer is going to learn something new every day. So if you ask me to rate myself, I would like rate 1 out of 10, I guess, for C++ myself, because I still don't know 99% of the details in C++. So I'm not worthy to rate myself or to rate anybody else. Correct. So never rate yourself in those metrics, because if I'm your interviewer, you're going to have a really bad time if you mention some of the ratings in that.
So now that we are done with the structure as well as the content, I wanted to ask you a question that what are the immediate turnoffs that you find when you see someone's resume?
Okay, this is a hard question because I have to think about it. What are the immediate turnoffs? Yep. So immediate turnoffs, I really hold like importance to how your resume is structured. Like, some people don't put in spaces after commas. So that is like, I know it's not related to programming, but your resume should not be just like you picked up some data, your personal data and your work experience, and you just dumped onto the resume. Please don't do it in that way. Like, English also holds some importance if you're writing your resume in English. Like, use the capitals where they are needed, use the spaces where they are needed. Too much of white space in the resume should be avoided. If you're using a 1 column resume and there's too much white space, try to shift to a 2 column resume that will try to fill up the spaces. So these are some general tips, like avoid white spaces, put in decent, like where comma is required, put in commas, where capital is required, put in capitals, use punctuations wisely and all those things. So these are my immediate turnoffs. Like, when I see a resume which has like no spaces after the commas, I am like, I don't want to read this resume further. Please, like, can you just update this thing and then send me again? Then I will read it. Yeah. So for me, that is the immediate turnoff.
Apart from this, could you share some example of good resume format that you would have used during your college days?
Definitely. So if you don't mind, at the end, I can show a comparison between my resumes, which I had during my internship and during my placement. So I will tell you what difference both the resumes had. So telling a little story, a 2-minute story about it. So in my internship, I got selected after the 6th interview. Right. So everything was going fine, coding and all of that, but I was not able to get selected. And during my placement, I got selected in the first company itself. So the resume in that hold a very strong part. Like, the interviewer who is going to interview me is going to like keep the resume open in his laptop, in his or her laptop. So that changes the what can I say, perception of the interviewer towards you. So I will show you that comparison. And now, talking about the good resumes, good tips about a resume. So you should bold the important keywords which match the job description. Like, let's say the job description says you should be good in computer networks, for example. Then if you have some like TCP or UDP based project that you did, which involves some computer networking or routing algorithms that you improvised, then those things, those important keywords in that project description should definitely be bolded. Right. If you're mentioning that you are, let's say, 5-star coder on CodeChef, or you say you are in top 10 in Code Forces, for example, then that top 10 should be bolded. Code Forces should be bolded. What position like you got and where you got, those two things should be bolded. For example, like, I had got a patent during my internship, so I bolded that part. So if you are a recruiter, let's say you are a recruiter, you, the YouTube viewer, is a recruiter, and if you read patent, wouldn't you want to read the entire sentence after that? Definitely, right? So those important catchphrases are really important, but you should not fake those catchphrases, right? Just putting those catchphrases just to like hold on to the attention of recruiter is bad. Okay, so those are the good tips of resume. And one more thing is that when you mention certain things, there should be numerical statistics to hold that thing. Like if you are doing some machine learning project, then what accuracy your product held, what was the cost function, what are the efficiency metrics, all those things should be mentioned and should be bolded, so that like I don't need to read the entire description of your machine learning project. The same scenario for web development won't hold true, but what your application does, like small points should be bolded so that I don't need to read through the entire paraphrase, right?
Now the most important question. Suppose some guy pings you for a referral and sends in his resume. So what do you usually see to find him if he is a suitable match for that job or not?
So, okay, this might sound a little biased, but yeah, I look at the CGPA. I don't look at the college, first of all. I don't look at the college. I definitely look at the CGPA, because that tells me how good that individual, what was the depth of that individual in understanding the computer science fundamentals. Next, I look is their coding profile. It can be a GitHub repo, like GitHub link, or it can be lit code, geeks for geeks, or like it is better if you have a strong profile in Codeforces or CodeChef, because that is my personal preference, not a like generally widely assumed thing. But I prefer that because during the tech rounds, like as a referee, like I am giving you the referral, right? So I would want you to succeed in the technical interviews as well. Your resume might be good for resume screening, but I want you to do good in your technical interviews as well. So if you don't have a good fundamental of data structures and algorithms, then I may not be able to give you the referral. So some proof that you are good in data structures and algorithms is expected. And then unique projects. It is not necessary how big the project was. It can be just as simple as, let's say my uncle has diabetes. Then when did he have his last insulin shot? When, like, how much sweet did he eat in his entire day? Just these few things, and just a small application with that should be a nice, interesting project. And personally, I would prefer that a lot against the the trending projects that are going on LinkedIn. Like you see some trending project on LinkedIn and you just copy that entire thing. That holds no value at all. You learn that concept and try to do something unique around it, which means something to you, something like a problem that you see around in the world and you are trying to solve it. That is a really good turn on for me. Like I will definitely want to give you the referral in that scenario.
Since we have talked about being referred to Google, could you tell us about the resume shortlisting round at Google?
Okay, so I myself is not in that committee as of now, the hiring committee. So I don't know the exact details. This is what I believe. I will like phrase it again. This is what I believe. This is not what happens exactly. So resume shortlisting goes through various rounds, multiple rounds, and there is a cumulative assessment which is done. Right, one recruiter is assigned to your resume. Like what I believe is there's a pool of resume, and the recruiter picks up the resume which he or she feels like is a good candidate for Google, right? And depending upon how good that resume is, it's proceeded forward towards the hiring committee. And after some rounds of analysis, like they will check your projects, they will check your CGP and all those different details. There will be cumulative assessment done, and then you will be either selected for, like, you will get a link for coding round. It's specifically 2 questions in 45 minutes, like normal coding round, easy to medium level questions. And then you will proceed towards the tech rounds. So that is how this pipeline, I believe, it works.
Apart from this, would you like to share any general advice for your juniors who are aiming to crack top tech companies?
Okay, so first of all, yeah, I don't like this way of cracking top tech companies. So I would usually prefer that work in what you are passionate of. For me, like I never aimed for Google. This is something that happened out of the way, and I'm really proud of it. I still can't believe I'm at Google, right? So that is the price of it. Like I didn't keep an eye on the goal. I surely had a goal to do good work. So my goal was to do good work. If you keep chasing good work, then automatically good companies will come to you. And companies don't matter. I will want to tell this to my juniors and to everyone who is going to begin their like first year in this year. So companies don't matter. In Google also there can be some project which you are not passionate about, and if you are given a position in that particular team, you are not going to feel good a lot about it. And as compared to that, on the contrary, if you are working in a small startup which has like 12 LPA, correct, and if you're doing some decent work which aligns with your passion, which aligns with your interest, then it's going to give you a lot of positivity, and that is going to increase your learning curve as compared to top tech companies. because right now what I'm working in is what I'm passionate about, and that is increasing my learning curve. I'm fortunate enough that I'm at Google, and yeah, that's what I wanted to share, and my general tip to the freshers.
Now, since we have reached the end of our video, could you please show us your internship resume as well as the one that you used during your placement?
This was my internship resume. If you see, I had good CGP and all those crazy stuff. I had some minor work experience. I had two major projects, which are also like they were also course projects. They were not anything that I did out of the box. Both of them were course projects, and this minor projects also. If you see, there are a lot of the projects. And as a recruiter, I'm not going to read like more than one or two projects out of this. And yeah, so a lot of projects, technical strengths are mentioned at the end, relevant courses also. I've mentioned all of the courses that I did at that time. And if you see, like I have some position of responsibility of my school time, and the achievements also, they are decent, all of that, but they are mentioned at the end of the resume. Like if as a resume, this is what will you see in the beginning. And this thing is a big turn off for me. Like one column resume, I have to read from left to right entire thing, and there are no bold and key phrases to catch my view. Like even the CGPA is not bold. Like it's good enough to catch the attraction of the recruiter, but it's not bold, so it doesn't matter. Uh, and all the projects are also like course projects, nothing out of the box of this. Right, now we'll shift to my placement resume. So GPA is bolded, all of the percentiles is bolded, very good. And the achievements is now in the top. So this is what I talked about. What is a good turn on according to you should be at the top. And then the work experience. So I did some patent, so that obviously, according to me, it should come up. Then I did some research work. I was a teaching assistant in machine learning and artificial intelligence. So all of those things are like for me personally, like someone who is tech savvy, I think these are good turn ons. And if you see, like all of them have numerical support. Like what was the loss in my model, what was the accuracy in my model, and during the research also, like if you see, each and everywhere I tried to put in numerical stats behind everything that I did. Obviously this last thing is like something in web development, so this doesn't have like numerical support. But then the major projects also, all of them are unique, none of them are course projects, all of them are chosen by me. Stock market prediction, this first two are the research projects. Both of them got good, like they were in news, Times of India and all the stuff. Research paper, both of them got research paper publications. And strengths, these are common strengths, so I didn't think like it will add some value to my resume, because C++, Python, Java, everyone does it, right? So it's okay to put it in the back according to me, because like these things mattered a lot to me, so I kept these things in the top. But still, this resume is a 2-page resume, right? I would strongly prefer that if you have a 1-page resume, and contrary to this, like cut off some major projects from this, cut off the elective courses if I can, and this position of responsibility also has some school things, so I can cut off that. Extracurricular is also like, it's good to have, it's okay to skip as well, so I could have cut that off and put a good 1-page resume with 2 columns. So that would be really good.
That's all for this video. Thanks a lot, Anshul, for all the valuable advice.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anush, for calling me here. And to all the viewers, if you have any doubt related to resume, you can ping me. I might take some time to read the like messages, because there are a lot of the inbox is completely flooded. But I will make sure that if I read your resume, like if I read your message, I will definitely reply to it.
So yeah, I would add your LinkedIn profile link to the description of the video, and you guys can ping him for any doubts that you have. With this, we end our video. I hope you guys liked the video and found it useful. If so, then please press the like button. Also subscribe to the channel so that you keep on getting more such educational informative content. So that's all for this video. Bye bye.